Welcome back to the podcast where we ask the question, what makes you happy? My name is Jake Pearson, and today we have with us the podcast host of Transacting Value. We have Josh Porthouse from Virginia, USA. Josh, how are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing really well, thank you. And you go by another name on your podcast, don't you?
Yeah. So I go by a few names depending on the characters that are in the interviews. But yeah, overall, I'm Porter.
Well, pleasure to have you on the What Makes You Happy podcast, Porter. Would you mind starting with what does make you happy?
What I stumbled on the most is happiness is fleeting. You know, it's momentary. Maybe that moment lasts seconds. Maybe that moment lasts months or years or weeks. But it's fleeting. And for me, the more I thought about it, really what it comes down to is just improvement. Whether it's me making improvement compared to who I was, watching family members, people I care about, friends, clients, learning and becoming new versions of them.
Really resonate with that. I think I'm in a similar boat too. You know, I've just enjoyed my own personal growth journey and seeing me. You know, do you look back to the challenges that you've overcome and how you've grown and reacted to those situations? You think, well done. You know, that makes me proud.
Oh yeah, you have to. You have to. It's so easy to get sucked into this sort of seduction of pessimism as humans. And, oh, wow, that was horrible. I'm such an idiot. I could have done that better. Whatever. This person did it better than I do. It doesn't matter. How many times have you stopped and thought about, well, actually, here's what went well. This was good.
They've got to segue into something really maybe off topic, but so I was driving to my girlfriend's house when she lived far away, and I was just in a mood and like really feeling down, focusing on the negatives so bad. And I was listening to this podcast, and someone said something in this podcast that made me just stop it right there and then, and my mind just exploded. I realized that I was focusing so much on the negatives, and I never ever stopped to think, hey, what's going well for me right now? And that was probably 6, 8 months, 10, maybe even a year ago. But from that moment on, it was just whenever I get into a space where I find myself being pessimistic or negative, it's, hey, on, what's the opposite? What is going well for you? And I list off all these little things that are going well. And I'm like, I feel like 10 times better, and whatever foul mood I was slipping into is gone.
Yeah. So let me jump on that for a second, right? Think about this, talking about positive thoughts or positive mental attitude, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're on the other side, almost the opposite side of the world from me. I've never met you before. We've never really talked before. And what we're discussing is, let's just couch it as positivity, right?
Mm-hmm.
But anybody on any other form of social media who they've never met before, never interacted with aside from that respective platform, generally focuses or centers around some sort of centrism or negativity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's shit talking or pranks or jokes or bullying, whatever. But it's all surface level stuff. And those are the relationships that you tend to make when you focus on negativity.
Mm-hmm.
I think like this as an example, when you start to talk about this sort of campy phrase of positive mental attitude, you start having more substantial relationships, whereas people, you start to grow together and become better people, but on a deeper level. Even if we never talk again, you and I, as people, I think it adds another layer to your character, and it makes all the difference, but it takes positivity to do it, I think.
Oh, I really agree with that. And it's great that we can be on the other side of the world and we have come across something very similar in our own journeys.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there's a lot of things when it comes to building a positive mental attitude or just happiness in your life that overlap in a lot of different, in everyone's lives. And that's what we're sharing here. But could you share for us, Josh, what you would suggest to our listeners who are all over the world, who may be struggling to find a little bit of happiness in their lives?
One, values still hold value. And it's not just a matter of, can you communicate them or convey that in a secondary school classroom, in a high school auditorium, in an elementary school coloring book? It doesn't matter where and how. I think it matters more that you identify where you are and who you are as a person and what your values are and what sort of character you want to become, right? So I've got a theme for 2022 on the podcast called The Character of Your Character. And so it's who you see yourself becoming when you look your values in the mirror. That's the premise, right? So values still hold value for that reason. But secondly, you may learn through life alone, because it's only in your head how you interpret whatever catalysts occur. So you may learn alone, but you don't live alone. You may live by yourself, right? Don't get me wrong, but you don't live alone. You're still a human, and this sort of combine and conquer philosophy makes a huge difference when it comes to your character, your success, your fulfillment, whatever, just as a human. And I think those are the big 2 points I'd bring up.
Beautiful. Beautifully said. Josh, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk about all things that make you happy.
Thanks for listening to the podcast. We hope it gives you something to think about on your quest to discover what makes you happy. Make sure to check out whatmakesyouhappypodcast.com to connect with today's guest and follow us on all our social media platforms and to stay up to date at what's happening next at What Makes You Happy. Don't forget to share this episode with a friend, and we'll see you next time.